Yo, what's up, everyone? The Glue Guys are back. Minus one man, Miles Elliott couldn't join us today. Decided to pursue his career in professional hockey. We wish him all the best, but the rest of us are still here for a special episode. We're gonna switch things up a bit and kind of follow the PTI format, where we're gonna go through a list of topics, and Nate, Miles, and I are gonna have 2 minutes to kind of give our thoughts on each topic. Did I say it? My bad.
He's just so prevalent.
But yeah, we'll get this going. Starting with some NFL topics. A lot of people were getting on me today about why I was wearing a Patriots hat. One, because football season never ends.
Yeah.
And two, the NFL has really found a way to kind of dominate this weird stretch where kind of the NBA and NHL, like, it's interesting, but playoffs are a little bit too far away, and the NFL has kind of dominated sports headlines for, I'd say, like, the last month or so.
Yeah.
And I want to start with what I think was the biggest move, and that's Odell Beckham Jr. going into the Cleveland Browns. There's a lot of layers to this, but where I want to start with is, do you guys think the New York Giants made a mistake letting go of OBJ?
100%. I think the issue here, obviously, OBJ, I've told you guys, is my favorite NFL player probably of all time. But I think the reason being that the New York Giants, because of Eli Manning's poor play the last 2 years, they really don't know what Odell's true potential is. And I think, yes, if you bring in a rookie QB like Dwayne Haskins or even Kyler Murray, yeah, there's going to be some growing pains, but at the same time, you just drafted Saquon, who arguably is already the best running back in the NFL. Like we said, Eli Manning can't throw more than 20 yards, so you don't know Odell's deep threat ability because of the poor play of his quarterback. So if you bring in a young quarterback and you can develop him, well, Odell is already under contract for another 4 years or 5 years. Why don't you do that? Instead of getting Jabril Peppers, who's, you could say, is not underrated, but or overrated in my opinion, based on his draft status and also status coming into the NFL, and then like a mid-tier pick, which may or may not turn out to be someone that's great. So in my opinion, they kind of, I said, if after next year they would have had a new quarterback and they would have seen what would happen and it didn't work out, then yes, you trade him, but I think it was a bit too early in my opinion.
Nate, what do you think?
Honestly, I really don't know what the front office was thinking. People are talking about that they did get something back, but like Matt was saying, they really didn't. They got a lower first-round pick, and then Jabril Peppers, and then
third rounder,
and a third rounder. That's literally
third round.
That's a bag of chips for Odell Beckham. So I really don't know what their sort of plan is. There's been rumblings about Eli still being the starter, still being their guy. I don't know what kind of stranglehold the Manning family has on New York, but apparently it's pretty friggin' tight because they just won't let go of this guy. This guy's probably the most shot. He looks like he's punch drunk when he's on the field. He throws and it's just it just looks ugly now. I really don't understand. Oh, that's time.
Yeah, before we move on, I just wanted to add the Jabril Peppers piece. Yeah, I don't know if he's overrated, but let's remember the Giants let go of Landon Collins, who I think you could argue is a little bit better of a player than Jabril Peppers. So when people say, they got Jabril Peppers, they filled a need that they themselves created.
Yeah.
So little questionable in my opinion too. Let's move on to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell. Obviously those two big names are gone out of Pittsburgh, but what I want to kind of get at is all the rumblings around the controversy about Big Ben and questions about his leadership style, questions about the front office supporting Ben's lack of leadership. Do you guys buy in that Ben was the problem in Pittsburgh?
I think it's so hard to identify the problem with Pittsburgh because there's so many layers to it.
And problem is in they've underachieved according to what their talent is.
I think they are, exactly. I think they're the most talented, most underachieving team.
Yeah.
They have all the pieces to make a deep playoff run every single year, and they squandered. They squandered so many games, and I think that, in my opinion, Big Ben's the biggest problem. I think Le'Veon obviously went, kind of emerged as the first sort of problem with the holdout and things like that, and then AB's antics. AB's a weird guy in general. I always thought that. You didn't have to look too hard to know he's kind of a little different, and then this just kind of amplified it. But I think Big Ben's not a leader. He's not a Tom Brady, Drew Brees, typical sort of, it's all on me. Everything that's good is on the team. Everything that's bad is on me. He's not like that. He'll point the finger and he'll make it blatant.
That's what AB was getting at.
Yeah.
That Ben would throw him under the bus.
Exactly. And I've never been a Big Ben fan, and I'm not trying to jump on the bandwagon of hating Big Ben. But I think that, like, I saw the play, I saw the fumble, I saw the sort of progression of it, him talking to Todd Haley. Like, the whole thing looks sus.
Yeah.
And everybody was looking around very confused. It's very suspect. I don't put that bet past Big Ben. I think he's a big baby. And I think that they really need to hold him more accountable if they want to be more successful.
I think he kind of hit on all of it, but I also would want to look at top down from Mike Tomlin.
Oh, yeah.
So Mike Tomlin, obviously, he's also had his antics. His whole team has, and I think if your head coach is like that, who's respected by the owner and the general manager, and there's a lot of loyalty right there. I think if you have someone like that that's tripping other players during the middle of the game, then it's gonna trickle down to organization. Even though Ben had won a Super Bowl beforehand, and they won the second one, like, I still think that it trickles down throughout the organization. So if they see Mike Tomlin doing things like that, then Antonio Brown's like, well, I'm a superstar, I can do whatever I want. Later on, I can do whatever I want, and now it's just blowing up completely.
Yeah. No, I like that point, guys, and I kind of agree with everything. But, like, don't get it twisted. AB is a huge drama queen, too, and he's
He is, bro.
This
The whole
offseason
thing's
for
a
sure.
mess.
Le'Veon, I think, there was more logic to what he was doing. Like, you could kind of buy what he was doing, but AB lost a lot of my respect over the offseason. But that doesn't mean that Big Ben is, not at fault here. Mm-hmm. But, okay, let's move on to the NBA. I actually prepped a question that I didn't tell these guys about because it was the type of question that I just wanted gut reaction. I recently I've been following a lot of Portland Trail Blazers games lately, and I've been really impressed with their team. Rodney Hood, definitely a good addition, Enes Kanter as well. But Dame came out and said, up front, I'm one of the best players in the league. That's facts. Now, I want, gut reaction. What do you guys think of that? Do you buy that? Is Dame one of the best is he the best point guard in the NBA? Because I think that's what he said.
Last question, 100% not. Steph Curry is still in the league, so you got to acknowledge that. Second of all, Kyrie could be arguably better than him. In terms of being one of the best players, yes, but I don't know what kind of list he's talking about. Is he talking top 5? Because no. Is he talking top 10? Maybe. Is he talking top 15? Then I'll throw him in there. So, just gut reaction, I would say no, because when I think best players in the NBA, I think top 5, and he's not there.
I think, for good reason, I think Dame has a sort of an inferiority complex.
Definitely a chip on his shoulder.
For sure, a chip on his shoulder. People doubt him all the time. But he's starting to get a little bit more credit. But I feel like he feels like the world's so against him, and he's always trying to having to push himself up and say, I am that good. And he is nice, but and he's bad as hell.
Is the world not against him?
But it is. I think it's over exaggerated how against the world is against him, because people do show him respect. People do recognize how good he is, but you have to look at, honestly, the Steph Currys, even Russell Westbrook, maybe not this season, but in general, it's a guard heavy league, and Dame just kind of came in at the wrong time. So I don't think he's as cognizant of that. I think and for good reason, you have to be when you're in the NBA and you're a star. But I feel like he feels the need to say, I'm the best, because people are telling him that he's absolutely not.
Also, one last thing. If you look at all the other top point guards in the league, you'll notice that they've all had success in the playoffs, from what I just off the top of my head, and he really has never gotten past the second round, or even won more than one game in the second round, so I can't really give him that credit at this point.
I agree with the overall sentiment that he's probably not the best point guard, probably not one of the best players in the league, but in terms of the team success, I feel like Dame's always performed in the playoffs. Maybe last year, but he was dealing with some injuries, and he has to carry that Portland team throughout the regular season. But I can remember times when he did his part to win games. In terms of the inferiority complex, I agree. But you have to remember, this guy didn't go to a D1 college. He did 4 years at, I think, a D2 college, because the scouts didn't believe in him. Yeah. So he came into the league like that, and he developed that mindset. And then, his first few years in the league, he was snubbed for the All-Star game consecutively when everyone thought he should be on the team. So I understand where it's coming from. I definitely don't think, people don't recognize his game anymore.
They used to.
But I just feel like that's part of him, you know? All right, let's move on to the second NBA topic we had. D'Angelo Russell had himself a game the other night, dropping 27 points in the fourth quarter, leading the Nets to a big win against the Kings. That led to me wondering, how good do you guys think D'Angelo Russell is, and is he a candidate for Most Improved Player of the Year this year?
I would say definitely. He's putting up crazy numbers, and obviously being from Canada, the first guy we think of is Pascal, and Pascal shot up so much, but so has D'Angelo. It's reminiscent to me of like when James Harden went to Houston, when he first started making rumblings and he started showing how great he was. He gets his own market, he takes off, he develops his own game and does his own thing. That's what I see when I see D'Angelo Russell, which gets me excited to see his trajectory. But it's been such a great year for both Pascal and D'Angelo. You can look at team value. D'Angelo is probably more important to the Nets than Pascal is to the Raptors. You could talk about that and value in that sense. So if you're saying, okay, Pascal has an incredible year from where he was to where he is, okay, but what has D'Angelo done? And probably going to make the playoffs, probably going to average over 25, something like that. Like, he's vastly improved, so it's a very hard discussion. But if, I had to, I'd say D'Angelo is the most improved.
The Harden comparison is really good. I think they're both second overall, but both kind of, Harden wasn't overlooked. He just didn't get the opportunity in Oklahoma, and then also lefties they're really shifty and things like that. I also compare it to Oladipo a couple of years ago when he finally got his shot in Indiana, and then you really see what he's made of. He's also a second overall pick, so maybe all these second overall picks just finally get their shot and they're good to go. In terms of most improved, I think the issue is Siakam dropped 33 and 12 last night, so
it's gross.
They're both worthy of it. I think most improved is gonna come down not just to most improved, but also how much of an impact that they have on their team. And I would say that D'Angelo does have more impact on the Nets than Siakam does on the Raptors.
Okay.
So D'Angelo.
Yeah. Well, I like how you guys gave D'Angelo Russell his credit too for answering that question. I would have to go towards Pascal because I don't know which one's the better player per se right now.
Right.
But it's just last year I saw flashes in D'Angelo Russell where I was like, I know this guy's nice, and I knew he was nice coming into the league. I was actually talking about this today. I think the NBA teams give up way too early on young guards. There's not a lot of young guards, point guards, shooting guards who can come into the league after 1 year in college and dominate the league.
But
exactly.
He could be in the conversation too.
Yeah, he definitely is in the conversation as well. But I give it to Pascal because I did not know that Pascal had this in him last year. I saw him as a hustle guy, but I did not think he could develop this offensive game that he has now. So I give the slight edge to Pascal. Let's move on. I know there was a big game, Philly and Boston yesterday. I don't want to go too much into the details of the game, but just quickly your thoughts on, has any of Milwaukee's injuries, Philly's, resurgence, being able to beat the Celtics, finally kind of break that monkey off their back. Toronto, Kyle Lowry being injured, the inconsistency in team chemistry that's going on there. Do you guys have any shifts on who you think is going to come out of the East?
I think Boston's kind of come back in the last couple of weeks. I think I still wouldn't put them up top with the Bucks and the Raptors, despite the Bucks' big two injuries to Brogdon and Mirotic.
Brogdon's a big injury.
Mirotic also out for 2 to 4 weeks, I think. So yes, they'll be back in time for the playoffs, but at the same time, how healthy and how conditioned are they going to be for a first round matchup? Luckily, they won't have to play one of those teams, but I think the Celtics are more legit to me than the Sixers. I think the Sixers just aren't too deep, especially in the playoffs. Given their roster, it's a great roster. It's a great starting five, but I don't think they have enough depth to grind it out in a 6-7 game series when it gets down to the Eastern Conference Finals. So I would have to give the edge to the Celtics between those two, and then it would be really interesting to actually see those two playing in the first round.
Yeah,
because it could still happen in the 4 or 5. I think that would be
a great series.
It'd be a great series for the NBA, but at the same time, it would be unfortunate given that they both should be teams that make it to the second round or further.
I feel like with the East, everything's so up in the air, and the injuries just make it that much more uncertain. But when I look at the Celtics and all the drama, and I guess Kyrie's kind of coming down from it a little bit. He's not. It's been about, I guess, 2 weeks since he said something kind of a little bit sassy. So I mean that's good for Boston fans. But if they can start to develop their chemistry the last 10-15 games here, if they can just like develop something as a base, because I feel like their success was predicated on like Brad Stevens' system last year, and now it's just kind of they'll go in and out of their system, and they'll just play iso ball, and Kyrie does this and then that, and then they'll go back to high screens, pick and rolls with Horford and Pops, and it's just kind of like all over the place. I want it to kind of come together, and if I can see that in the last thing, I'm like, okay, Boston might come out of the East, but right now, like, I really think Toronto or Milwaukee, it's between the two. I think they'll be Brogdon and Mirotic will be good for the playoffs. I think Milwaukee has the system figured out. I think Kawhi's been playing great, and there's no load management in playoffs, so it's hopefully not. So I do think it is still up in the air, but if the Celtics can figure out, they're definitely on my list too.
Okay. I think the Celtics and Sixers are really interesting because they have the same problem. Watching the game yesterday, like the Sixers, they were able to get all four guys involved yesterday somewhat, but it was so awkward. Like it would be like dump it down to Embiid for 3 possessions, and then
they just stand and watch each other.
Tobias gets 2 possessions, Simmons gets a bucket,
it's crazy,
Jimmy gets a bucket, and it's very disjointed, but they have so much talent. And same thing with the Celtics yesterday. Terry Rozier's balling. He's their backup point guard, and he's easily one of the best. Like, could be one of the best guards in the league if he started. But you got Rozier, Kyrie, and Horford balling, and then you got Tatum and Brown scoring under 10 points in that game. It's just they don't know how to mesh it all together, both teams, but they're both scary if they do figure out a way to do it. All right, let's move on to quick baseball. Mike Trout, I think undeniably the best player in baseball in the last 5 years, no doubt. Got paid, I think contract $400 million for 12 years, if I'm not mistaken. $420 million for a long-term contract with the Angels. I want to ask the question initially. Do you think this is too much money for one player? But I also want to ask the question: what do you guys think about athletes getting paid this amount of money in general in any sport? So you guys can answer that in 2 parts, I guess.
I think the amount of money isn't my biggest concern. I think it's the length and how long they've signed him for. I know baseball isn't as physically demanding as any other sport. Like, it's very, like, you can go into your late 30s, whatever. But I think that to sign a guy that long for that much, it's like, I think you're signing him for 5-6 years of his prime max, and then you're just paying a premium for the other half. So I get maybe locking him down and there's no cap, and again, I'm not too big on baseball, but I know that if you got money, just pay him. But like, dude, that's almost $500 million. Like, let's not forget how much money that is and how long you're gonna have to pay this guy. And it's probably he's probably gonna get all of it if he sticks with them. So, and then sports in general, like, it kind of ties back to what I'm saying. Like, what is the product you're getting out of these athletes? Pay for that. If you're getting him in his prime for like 6 years, for example, pay him for like 8 or 9. That's fine. But like, what's the deal? Like 12 years? 12 years. You're paying a hefty premium. I just don't see how you can sign a guy for that long and pay that much, and you're getting it. The value doesn't equate to me.
Personally, I think it was a lot better deal than the Harper deal, even though the total amount is literally $90 million more. The reason being, Mike Trout has proven consistently to be the top player in the MLB. If you look at his stats, he actually has the best stats in the first 7 years of any MLB person, or any MLB career in history of the MLB. So arguably, you could say that by the end of his career, he will be the greatest baseball player ever.
Yeah, great defensive outfielder too.
And that too. Also, he causes no drama. He doesn't want to be in the spotlight. Like, overall, he's the most ideal MLB athlete to come out in 50 years. So for them to give him $420 million, yes, I understand, especially in for the Angels, because they haven't won. They can really say, okay, we're locking you down and now we're going to build around you. Because baseball has no salary cap, they have the ability to build around him,
right?
Despite giving someone $35 million a year. So overall, I think it was a great deal for the Angels and for Mike Trout. He probably didn't want to deal with free agency. He's a really quiet guy. He just literally just wants to be the best baseball player in the world. So.
Mm-hmm. All right, last question. Let's go to March Madness. March Madness started today. We all filled out our brackets. Who do you guys think is winning this year's tournament?
Honestly, like, I feel like a lot of people are, and take this with a grain of salt, but like, are kind of sleeping on Duke because of how good they are. Every time I hear somebody talk about Duke or I see in the tab, like, oh, like, probably gonna trail off in the Elite Eight, probably Final Four, they'll get knocked off. Like, I think they could literally run the entire table. I think Zion's like that wicked of a talent that he could literally take them all the way and ride this sort of motivational curve, if you will. And if they can play the basketball they've been playing all year, like, yeah, they've had some trouble shooting, definitely. And there's some other sort of kinks they could work out, but they are so friggin' talented. And they have 4 NBA star potential players on their team. There's so much talent, and call me getting caught up in the story, but I really think that they'll make a very, very, very deep run, and I guess they're my favorite right now.
I also believe Duke will make a deep run, but I have them losing in the final to North Carolina. Reason being, yes, North Carolina beat them twice. Both of those games Zion was hurt. He actually got hurt in the very beginning of the first one, so I don't really take that game into account. But the conference championship between Duke and semifinal last week, North Carolina lost by like 3 points. I think they had the opportunity to win, and that was a full healthy Duke team. So I think the one team that can shut them down is North Carolina. Roy Williams, great coach. Krzyzewski's a great coach as well. But I think Duke will make a great run, get to the final, lose a very close game to North Carolina.
Okay. I got Duke, mostly for the same reasons as Nate, I guess. But we'll see how it goes. All right, well, that's it. We're going to wrap it up here. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Let us know if you like this style of format. Maybe we'll continue this for future episodes down the line. But see you guys later.
See you.
Take care.